Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has just wrapped up his testimony at the federal inquiry into foreign meddling in Canada's last two elections. The hearing was triggered by a series of media reports citing unnamed sources and leaked documents. One of the allegations involved Chinese international students being bused to the federal riding of Don Valley North to vote in the 2019 Liberal nomination contest. Well, today, Trudeau said intelligence leaks to the media can't be refuted without declassifying secret information and putting security officials at risk.
Every briefing I've ever got from all my intelligence and security experts is that those elections were indeed free and fair, and nothing we have seen and heard, despite, yes, attempts by foreign states to interfere, those elections held.
A top secret document from February 2023 for the Prime Minister's office details 34 CSIS briefings on Chinese interference between June 2018 and December 2022. It asserted that the People's Republic of China, or PRC, clandestinely and deceptively interfered in both the 2019 and 2021 elections. So when did Trudeau know? The Prime Minister certainly denied any foreign interference when speaking to reporters in November 2022.
We wanted to make sure that it wouldn't happen in Canada. And for the 2019 election, for the 2021 election, that independent, rigorous, responsible body said, no, the elections held.
In both elections, the top secret document details that the foreign interference by China was focused on supporting those who viewed to be either pro-PRC or neutral, and that it preferred the Liberals.
It just would seem very improbable that the Chinese government itself would have a preference in the election.
Also tonight, the Globe and Mail reporting that a senior Liberal leaked highly classified information to warn Han Dong that he was being monitored by CSIS. Dong testified earlier in the hearing that he encouraged international students from a private high school to get involved in his Liberal campaign, and that on the day of his nomination vote in September 2019, a busload of international students arrived to cast ballots. Dong telling the hearing he didn't know who organized the students and paid for their bus.
I didn't pay attention to, busing international students, because at the time I didn't understand it as a irregularity.
You didn't understand it as an irregularity?
It turns out the buses were at the request of the People's Republic of China. In testimony yesterday, Jeremy Broadhurst, Trudeau's national campaign manager in 2019, now senior advisor to the PM, said he informed Trudeau of the allegations against Han Dong after a CSIS briefing.
On the information that we had at that time, and based on what I thought should be an extremely high bar for overturning a democratic result, I had recommended to the Prime Minister that no action be taken.
Where does this leave a political party receiving this information?
I was able to turn to our intelligence agencies and say, we need to know more about this.
Dong won the riding of Don Valley North in Canada's 2019 general election. He tearfully resigned last year from the Liberal caucus to sit as an independent amid allegations in a Global News report that he privately advised a senior Chinese diplomat that China should delay the release of the two Michaels, Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor.
The allegations made against me are as false as the ones made against you.
Overall, it's clear there was strong intelligence of Chinese meddling.
There is always more to do, and one of the things I'm very much looking forward to coming from the work this commission is doing is to make recommendations on how we can strengthen even further the protection of institutions and of our democracy.
However, this public hearing has also heard that the critical election incident public protocol was not triggered to warn the public, a warning of threats to election integrity in both 2019 and 2021. We're joined live by criminology professor Michael Kempa from the University of Ottawa, who just exited the public hearing today in the nation's capital, where we did hear Trudeau speak on election interference for the first time publicly in this hearing. Michael, what was your thought? What stood out to you in that testimony?
So the most surprising thing is that for the first time, Prime Minister and some of his staff have admitted that they did in fact receive intelligence from CSIS and other intelligence agencies at the time of the 2019 election that there were suspicions and concerns about interference on the part of the People's Republic of China in specific nomination contests, including that of Mr. Han Dong on the east end of Toronto. However, the Prime Minister, as all his staffers before him, said that this intelligence, of course not being evidence, did not reach the high threshold and merit a form of either legal or disciplinary action in those specific nominations.
So what's your take on this? In your opinion, did Trudeau do enough after hearing all of the information in his briefings from CSIS and from his staff about foreign interference?
In a legal sense, and this is the argument that the Prime Minister and his staff and other politicians have been relying on, he did things that were correct. He did not break the law. There was not criminal evidence that would have justified, for example, police laying charges, at least not that we know up to this time. But what wasn't done, despite repeated warnings on the part of CSIS and others, was to shore up nominations processes and the rules around nominations and funding for electoral campaigns that rendered these processes so leaky to render these concerns to begin with. In other words, intelligence may not be enough for legal action or disciplinary action, but it's certainly enough for policy action and rules-based action.
So, Michael, what happens next? We know that another federal election is coming next year. We're less than 18 months away from that. What needs to happen?
Well, the next steps are going to be to plug exactly those holes, to ensure, for example, that only Canadian citizens and permanent residents would be allowed to vote in nominations contests, given that there has been so much concern about how easy it is for foreign governments to mobilize people who are in Canada merely on student visas, for example, to vote in the nominations contests where contestants for elections are chosen by local members of political parties. It's necessary to tighten up and make only cashless donations to political parties allowed on the basis that, of course, these transactions are fully traceable. We'll be going into that more general policy phase in the next phase of the Commission, but for now we're focused really on those two elections, 2019 and 2021.
Absolutely. And finally, Michael, why should Canadians care about this? I mean, how vital is this hearing to our democracy?
It's absolutely essential for two main reasons. Number one, to ensure that states who don't have the best of intentions for Canadian democracy are not able to influence who ends up running to contest elections in our Parliament, and also simply to reassure Canadians that in every case, their vote counts. We're not talking about a situation where overall elections could be thrown one way or another, but if there's interference in one riding, that undermines people's confidence in the electoral process.
That's Michael Kempa joining us from Ottawa tonight. Thank you so much for your time. It's always great speaking with you, Michael.